Ever wonder what happened to the restaurants on Kitchen Nightmares? The show spans 20 years, featuring 115 establishments across the UK, US, and Europe. In chronological order, we're going to examine each restaurant's current status, open or closed. From Gordon Ramsay's first intervention more than 2 decades ago to his last. Which ones survive? Which don't? Let's find out. The inaugural episode of Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, the pioneering UK edition of the show that launched it all, was filmed in 2003 in Silsden, England. In the episode, Chef Ramsay pays a visit to Bonaparte's restaurant. The struggling establishment, owned by Sue Ray, closed in 2005, just over a year after its Kitchen Nightmares episode aired. Supposedly, Sue was left in debt and homeless, which highlights the harsh realities of the restaurant business. Bonaparte's location changed hands several times after its closure, and eventually it was converted into residential suites. Moving northwest to Cumbria, in the picturesque Lake District, the second episode took Gordon Ramsay to the Glass House, a historic 15th century building.
Don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I mean don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah, go on.
But last night you had bad breath.
Okay.
Yeah?
Owned by Neil Farrell, it closed in 2014, but reopened as the Fulling Mill under the same ownership. In 2020, with the ongoing pandemic closures, Neil exited the business when the property was purchased by a pub management chain, which rebranded it as the Flying Fleece. It continues to operate today. Crossing into Wales, we encounter the Walnut Tree, which was a Michelin-starred restaurant owned by an Italian chef, Francesco Mattioli, who lost not only the Michelin star rating, but also the restaurant when it went into receivership in 2007.
I've come to find out how, in just 3 years, he's managed to mess it all up.
It closed briefly, but reopened under chef Sean Hill. In a surprising turn of events, it re-earned the Michelin star in 2010, becoming a rare success story. It is still open today and continues to operate with rave reviews. Back in England, Gordon headed next to Moore Place. Despite its proximity to a busy golf course, the restaurant was known for its bizarre maroon exterior and empty dining room.
I'll turn it into an open prison for young offenders.
I think this could be my toughest job yet.
Owners Richard Hodgson and Nick Whitehouse lacked experience in the industry, and Ramsay was unimpressed by the excessive use of deep-fried foods and outdated menus. Despite Gordon's efforts, the 18th century Moore Place closed in 2006. The property briefly operated as a steam bar and restaurant before being sold and demolished in 2010. A care home now stands in its place. Our next stop takes us to Letchworth, Hertfordshire, where La Lanterna, an Italian restaurant owned by chef Alexander Scott, was featured on Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. Despite Ramsay's efforts to revamp the menu, improve the decor, and boost staff morale, the restaurant struggled with subpar food, poor management, and significant debt. Sadly, La Lanterna closed its doors in July 2005, a mere 10 weeks after the episode aired on television. The building underwent a transformation in the years following La Lanterna's closure. No longer a restaurant, the property now serves the community as a health clinic. Our journey continues to Chelmsford, Essex, the location of an ancient Saxon county. This is where D Place, a cafe bar, was opened by Mexican restaurateur Israel Pons 5 years before being featured on Kitchen Nightmares. Despite initial success, D Place struggled with a significant drop in sales and a strained relationship between executive chef Philippe Blaise and manager Dave.
D Place Cafe Bar is indie shit.
Ramsay aimed to revamp the menu, improve communication among staff, and boost morale. However, just 6 weeks after Ramsay's visit, D Place closed its doors and entered receivership. The property was later bought by new owners and reopened as Saracens, which has remained open and is repeatedly highly successful. Our journey brings us to the seaside town of Brighton, home to Mama Sherry's Soul Food Shack. Sharita Jones, an American expat, owned the restaurant. After Gordon's intervention, Mama Sherry surged in success and moved into a more prominent location. Unfortunately, it closed in 2009 due to significant debts accumulated during the credit crunch period. The episode is a fan favorite, receiving the highest rating on IMDb of any episode of the UK series. The location changed hands to become an Indian restaurant, then became a modern European restaurant called Med. Following that, Gordon headed north to Inverness, in his birth country of Scotland, home of La Riviera. The French restaurant was owned by multi-millionaire Barry Larson, who brought KFC to Scotland. The restaurant was personal for Gordon because it took place just 2 years after his Scottish restaurant, Amaryllis, failed. A French chef was brought in to win a Michelin star. Unfortunately, they never achieved that Michelin star, and the restaurant closed in 2009. Following that, a well-known chef, Tom Kitchen, purchased the location and renamed it Castle Terrace. Reviews were excellent, and under the new management, the restaurant received a Michelin star and 3 AA rosettes. Sadly, the restaurant could not survive the pandemic and closed in 2020. Continuing our culinary journey, we return to England, arriving at Oscar's in Nantwich, Cheshire. Owned by Maura Doris, the restaurant named after Oscar Wilde closed in October 2005, shortly after Ramsay's visit. In a bittersweet ending, Maura sold the restaurant, and her son, who had been cooking for free, entered rehab and has, rather fortunately, stayed sober since. The former location of Oscar's is now a ladies-only gym called Gymophobic. Our next destination is the Sandgate Hotel, a traditional Victorian building in Folkestone, Kent, overlooking the English Channel. This was Gordon Ramsay's first hotel rescue, setting the stage for future rescues on Hotel Hell. Although the original owners, Peter and Lois, sold the business shortly after Ramsay's visit, the hotel has changed hands multiple times. In 2022, despite surviving the pandemic, the hotel suddenly announced its closure for unknown reasons. In 2023, the restaurant portion of the hotel was transformed into an Italian restaurant called Lido Bon Vino. However, this only lasted a year as they announced in early 2024 that they were temporarily closing, a status that remains in effect today. Venturing north to the seaside attraction city of Blackpool, we encounter Clubway 41. This multi-floor establishment, owned by Don Brinley and Dave Jackson, couldn't maintain momentum after Ramsay's intervention.
I don't think you can actually cook.
If you'd have fucking taught me...
If you can't cook a fucking muscle...
If you had fucking taught me...
Renamed Jackson's, it closed its doors in September 2006, shortly after Gordon's revisit, joining the list of businesses that couldn't sustain their initial improvements. The space became the Frying Squad, a fish and chip restaurant. Our culinary journey takes us to Derby, where Lagondola's tale unfolds. Owned by Daniela Bayfield, who cherished childhood memories of the establishment, the restaurant closed its doors in 2007, though the hotel persisted for a time. The building then stood vacant, falling prey to extensive vandalism over a decade. Daniela's aspirations to repurpose it as a refugee shelter were sadly unrealized. Following her passing in 2019, the severely deteriorated structure faced an inevitable fate. Plans for its demolition were approved for 2024, allowing 48 luxury apartments to rise from the ashes of Lagondola's former glory, marking the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter for the iconic location. Leaving England behind, we journey to the sun-soaked coast of Spain.
During the summer months, thousands of Brits will invade the Mediterranean coastline and spend their hard-earned cash,
where La Parra de Borriana in Nerja awaits. Owned by British chef Lawrence Davy, who had borrowed money from his father to open the restaurant, it closed in August 2008. Lawrence reportedly did a runner, according to the local donkey sanctuary. After Lawrence fled back to England, the building underwent construction and re-emerged under Spanish ownership. To this day, a restaurant called Terrazza La Parra remains. Returning to England, we find ourselves in Cloughton, Lancashire. Owned by Brian and Elaine, this pub initially closed in 2011. However, in a twist of fate, it found new life when the Seafood Pub Company purchased and reopened it in 2013, proving that sometimes a change in ownership can breathe new life into a struggling establishment. The 250-year-old pub remains open to this day. Our next destination is King's Lynn, Norfolk, where Rococo awaits. Owned by former Michelin star winner Nick Anderson, this restaurant's story is a cautionary tale of how quickly fortunes can change in the culinary world.
What's the idea behind the two sauces? Resemblance of a pearl necklace I used to give her my girlfriend.
Despite Anderson's prestigious background, Rococo filed for bankruptcy in September 2007, illustrating that even experienced chefs can struggle in the volatile restaurant industry. The building then became a restaurant named Market Bistro in 2010, although it closed in 2020, weeks before the pandemic restrictions began. The building underwent a renovation in 2023 by the new owners, who operate Mem, a Mediterranean restaurant. Continuing our journey, we arrive in Liverpool, where Morgan's Restaurant, owned by Sandy Morgan, closed its doors in November 2007. In an exciting twist of fate, Sandy returned to her previous career as an antiques dealer, reminding us that sometimes life after restaurant ownership can lead back to familiar paths. The building is now a French restaurant called Cabal. Our culinary tour takes us back to the seaside town of Brighton, this time to Ruby Tate's. Owned by former actor Alan Love, this restaurant was renamed Love's Fish Restaurant on Gordon's suggestion. Despite this, the place closed in January 2009 due to the local economic downturn, according to Alan in an interview he did. This closure is a stark reminder of how external economic factors can impact even the most passionate restaurateurs. The location is now an Indian restaurant named Pavel. Crossing the English Channel, we find ourselves in the romantic city of Paris for Ramsay's second trip outside the UK for an episode of Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. There he went to Piccolo Teatro, owned by Rachel McNally. This restaurant holds the dubious distinction of closing before Ramsay could return for a revisit. This rapid closure highlights the precarious nature of the restaurant business, where some establishments are beyond saving, even with expert intervention. The location has since become an Italian restaurant. Heading back to the United Kingdom from the continent, the subsequent establishment Gordon visited was an unusual one in Haywards Heath, West Sussex. The Prairie was a Carvery restaurant housed in a converted 19th century convent. Ramsay found numerous issues, including an outdated Carvery concept, unhygienic kitchen conditions, and a reliance on discount vouchers that were causing financial losses. He transformed the restaurant into a grill, revamped the menu, and improved kitchen practices, leading to initial success. Still, despite Ramsay's best efforts, it closed in 2008, less than a year after its appearance on the show. After the Priory closed, the property was purchased by a property management company and was renovated to become a mixed-use building with offices and flats. Our journey takes us back to Wales, where we encounter the Fish and Anchor, a pub in Lampeter run by ex-boxer Mike and his wife Karen. The establishment's bright blue exterior initially caught Ramsay's eye.
You can't miss that one, can you? Unfortunately, the Germans did.
Setting the stage for a memorable episode. Fans of Kitchen Nightmares particularly enjoyed the dynamic between Mike and Karen, whose banter became a highlight of the show.
You're supposed to work with me. I want you to work with
working
me.
with you, you friggin'
Yeah, but
dog.
Despite Ramsay's interventions, the pub closed in 2008, briefly reopening under new management before shutting down again. Since then, the building has undergone multiple transformations, its exterior shifting from vibrant blue to white, then white with black trim, and finally setting on a beige hue. As of the latest update, the once lively Fish and Anchor stands empty, a silent reminder of its colorful past. Returning to England, Ramsay sets his heights on the Curry Lounge in Nottingham, a city renowned for its rich history, including the legendary Robin Hood and Nottingham Castle. Owned by Arfan Razak, aka Raz, the Curry House struggled with an overly complex menu. Post-Kitchen Nightmares, the Curry Lounge survived until 2015, when Raz sold the business. The restaurant closed in 2018, briefly reopening as another Indian eatery before transforming an Italian restaurant currently occupying the space. Heading to Titchfield in southern Hampshire, Gordon visited the Granary. Owner Nigel Nadeau originally envisioned the space as a £2,000 a year private club. The fee was later scrapped due to a lack of long-term interest.
This is how I run my fucking restaurant, it's not true! That's why you're in this shit, you fucking fat idiot! Don't call me fat, you are a twat!
Despite some initial success. When Gordon arrived, he taught the staff how to use fresh, local ingredients to their advantage. When he revisited 6 weeks later, Ramsay was delighted to see local lamb on the menu. Things were going well for Nigel and the Granary at that point. But 2 months after the episode aired, an arson attack on the building caused significant damage. As a result of the fire damage, Nigel had no choice but to close the Granary for good in 2008. The fire-damaged building was later auctioned off. It is now the headquarters of a local IT service provider. As Ramsay wrapped up his UK restaurant rescues, he set his sights on an even larger challenge: America. In September 2007, the first US episode of Kitchen Nightmares aired, kicking off a new chapter in Ramsay's TV career. We start in Babylon, New York, at Peter's Italian Restaurant. Tina Pellegrino owned it, and her brother Peter, who had a short temper, was the host.
I hate you, scumbag! Get it, tough guy! Come on, stop! Get the fuck out of here!
Even though Ramsay tried to help, the restaurant shut down in December 2008, just a year after he visited. Now, the old Peter's Italian Restaurant building is a place called the Post Office Cafe. Venturing into the heart of Manhattan, we encounter Dylan's, a restaurant later renamed Purnima. Owned by Muhammad Islam, this establishment's story took an unexpected turn when the manager attempted to sue Ramsay for millions after its closure in 2009. Talk about a recipe for controversy. After Purnima's closure, the location transformed into a comedy club, before becoming the Grizzly Pear, a bar and comedy club that thrives today, showcasing how spaces can find new life after the cameras drop. We head next to the charming town of Belmore, nestled on the south shore of Long Island. Here we encounter the Mixing Bowl, a restaurant that once stood as a testament to the challenges faced by many family-owned eateries. Owned by Billy and Lisa Galletti, this establishment served its last meal in January 2009, after a brief shutdown and reopening for the show. Over the next decade, the location changed hands 4 times, eventually becoming Anthony's Kitchen and Cocktails in 2020, which remains today. Our culinary journey continues as we travel 20 miles east along the picturesque southern shore of Long Island, bringing us to the coastal town of Islip, New York. Here, we encounter Seascape, a seafood restaurant that once stood as a local landmark. Owned by Peter and his mother Irene,
This is you walking. Running around like a fucking baby rhinoceros trying to have a shit.
this establishment's fate turned unexpectedly in the summer of 2007, when they received an offer too tempting to refuse. Interestingly, Seascape had already closed its doors when its Kitchen Nightmares episode aired in October. Since then, the location had changed hands several times, eventually becoming J&R Steakhouse, which continues to serve the community today. We head next to Tuckahoe, New York, a small city in Westchester County nestled along the Bronx River. Here we encounter the Old Stone Mill, perched on the river's edge. Owned by Dean Morazio, this restaurant closed in 2009 after Chef Ramsay attempted to rebrand it as a steakhouse. The historic mill building that housed the restaurant later became home to some Italian eateries before transforming into a live music venue called Wicked Wolf North. Let's head back to Long Island, specifically to the picturesque beach town community of West Hampton. Here we find Finn McCool's, an Irish pub near its sandy shores. Owned by Buddy Mazzio, this establishment kept its doors open until March 2012, when lease issues finally forced its closure. Interestingly, Buddy exited the business in 2009, after receiving a tempting offer to sell. The pub continued operating under new management with the shortened named Finn's until its final closure in 2012. In an interesting turn of events, the building was later renovated and now serves as a post for the veterans of foreign wars, continuing to be a gathering place for the community, though in a very different way. Our journey takes us across the country to Toluca Lake, California, a charming neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley. Here we find Sebastians, a restaurant owned by Sebastian D. Modica, a part-time actor with culinary ambitions. Despite Ramsay's efforts, and perhaps due to Sebastian's lukewarm reception of the chef's advice,
I've never, ever, ever, ever met someone I believe in as little as you.
the restaurant closed in January 2008, merely 2 months after the episode aired. The location then became Robano's, another pizzeria, before transforming into the Red Door, which garnered generally positive reviews. However, the story doesn't end there. In a surprising twist, the building was eventually demolished, making way for potential plans of a 37-unit apartment complex. Our culinary tour brings us to the outskirts of Pomona, California, where we encounter Leela's Restaurant.
Get them diamonds on that. Diamonds on my fish, diamonds on my fish, diamonds on my fish, diamonds on my fish.
Owned by its namesake, Leela, this establishment served its final dish in 2007. Following its closure, the venue embarked on a journey of reinvention. It first transformed into a shisha lounge and then became a sports bar. In an interesting full-circle moment, the space eventually returned to its roots as a music venue, a nod to its 1990s heritage when up-and-coming acts like Beck, though not as the headliner, graced its stage. This location's story showcases the ever-changing nature of the hospitality and entertainment industries. We now travel back east to Fair Lawn, New Jersey, where we encounter Campagna, a restaurant whose story takes a sad turn, highlighting the immense pressure and emotional toll of running a struggling business. Owner Joe Cerniglia tragically took his own life in September 2010, just 8 days after selling the restaurant. This devastating event sent shockwaves through the local community and the restaurant industry. Following this heartbreaking occurrence, Campagna continued briefly under new management. In 2011, the location transformed into Sage Restaurant, which continues to serve the Fair Lawn community today, standing as a testament to renewal in the face of tragedy. On to Moore Park, California, where you'll find The Secret Garden, a French restaurant run by chef Michel Bar-David. Gordon Ramsay visited and tried to get the stubborn chef to change how he did things. He had some funny ideas, like putting tape on the outside to make it look like the place was closed. Gordon just wanted Chef Michel to get the point. Well, the secret garden ended up closing for real in 2015. But that's not the end of the story. A new restaurant called M on High Street opened in the same place. Heading back to New York, we stop at Handlebar in Mount Sinai. Owned by Billy and Carolyn Leroy, this restaurant closed in 2009. This episode stood out as it featured Twisted Sister frontman Dee Snider and WWE wrestler Mick Foley, aka Mankind, who was part of a charity fundraiser that auctioned off a motorcycle. Sadly, Billy passed away in 2015, reminding us of the human stories behind these business ventures. The building is now Benchwarmers Tavern and Grill. Our next stop is Macomb Township, located north of Detroit, Michigan. Here we find Giuseppe's, owned by Joe and Kathy Borgia. The restaurant's story illustrates how factors beyond food quality can significantly impact a business's success. Giuseppe's closed its doors in July 2009, with the owner citing the struggling economy and their lack of a liquor license as critical reasons for the shutdown. These challenges proved impossible, even after Ramsay's intervention. Today, the building that once housed Giuseppe's stands empty, a silent reminder of the restaurant industry's complex changes. Returning to New York, our culinary exploration leads us to Great Neck on Long Island. Here, we encounter Trobiano's, a family-run establishment owned by Anthony Trobiano, his wife Tiffany, and her parents. Despite their efforts and Ramsay's intervention, Trobiano's story ended abruptly when it was seized for unpaid taxes in October 2008. In a dramatic turn reflecting urban redevelopment, the building was eventually demolished. Rising in its place is The Rose, a luxury apartment complex where two-bedroom units start at $1.5 million, symbolizing a stark transformation from family dining to high-end living. Our journey brings us back to Manhattan, where the Black Pearl, a lobster restaurant in downtown, made waves in New York City. During his visit, Chef Ramsay uncovered significant food quality and management issues, leading to a dramatic overhaul of the menu and decor. Unfortunately, despite Ramsay's efforts, Black Pearl closed shortly after his departure. The location now houses the Flatiron Room, a new restaurant receiving positive reviews. From the bright lights of the Big Apple, we travel over 700 miles west to the Hoosier State. In South Bend, Indiana, J. Willie's Barbecue House was known for its smoked meats and southern flair. Chef Ramsay quickly identified deep-rooted problems with the restaurant's management and food quality. Even with his recommended changes, J. Willie's struggled to maintain business and shut its doors just a year after Ramsay's visit. The once thriving barbecue joint was demolished in 2015, leaving behind an empty lot. Continuing our journey eastward, we make our way to the Garden State. In the small town of Cranberry, New Jersey, the family-run Hannah and Masons faced operational challenges threatening its survival.
Hey, Panini Head, are you listening to me? I'm eating here! Partners in crime!
Chef Ramsay stepped in to help by revamping the menu and streamlining kitchen efficiency. The restaurant saw initial success following Ramsay's visit, but ultimately closed due to ongoing management and quality issues. Surprisingly, the former restaurant space now serves as a law office. Heading northwest, we cross into the Great Lakes State and arrive in St. Clair Shores, Michigan, home of Jack's on the Waterfront. This restaurant boasted picturesque waterfront dining, but struggled with numerous issues in the food and service departments.
When you take a bite of that cod, it's almost like you've got a breaded condom in your mouth.
Despite Chef Ramsay's efforts to redesign the space and update the menu, Jack's Waterfront closed its doors for good in December 2010. The location has changed hands several times since, and is now occupied by Hook, a new eatery with mixed reviews. Traversing nearly 700 miles southeast, we find ourselves in the Constitution State. Sabatello's, an Italian restaurant in Stamford, Connecticut, grappled with poor management and subpar food quality. Chef Ramsay's efforts to revitalize the establishment were short-lived.
I'm Italian, man. Here's a guy from Scotland. What the fuck's he know about lasagna?
As Sabatello's closed just months after his visit, before the episode aired. In an ironic turn of events, the location now houses Tutti Pazzi, a pizzeria that has received mixed reviews. Returning to the Empire State, we travel north to West Nyack, where Fiesta Sunrise, a Mexican restaurant, faced severe financial and operational issues.
Ground beef! Half of it's fucking fat, you idiot! It's fatter than you!
Despite Chef Ramsay's intervention, The restaurant closed before the episode aired due to unpaid back taxes. The former location is now occupied by an unrelated construction rental business, starkly contrasting its culinary past. Our culinary odyssey takes us to the West Coast, where Santa La Brea, a Mediterranean restaurant in Los Angeles, California, struggled with poor management and food quality.
There you go, buddy.
First of all, I'm so glad the dog ate, because I thought if the dog doesn't eat this burger, we're
Chef Ramsay's visit changed the menu and decor, initially leading to improved business. However, the restaurant closed shortly after that and was replaced by Wursthaus, a German restaurant. Venturing over 1,700 miles east, we arrive in the Prairie state. Cafe 36 faced various operational issues when Chef Ramsay arrived.
Pinto. Executive chef, certified dick.
Despite some improvements, the restaurant closed just a few months after the episode aired, attributing its failure to the economic downturn. Empanadas, a testament to the ever-changing nature of the restaurant industry, now occupies the former location. Crossing the Atlantic, we find ourselves in the United Kingdom, where the Dovecote Bistro faced significant challenges that required Chef Ramsay's intervention.
They're vacuum-packed, the lamb shanks, and they don't have to be kept refrigerated.
Holy
Following Ramsay's visit, the restaurant made some improvements, but closed shortly after. The property has since been taken over by Graylene's, a fish and chip shop. Returning stateside, we head to the city of brotherly love. Hot Potato Cafe in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania suffered from mismanagement and quality issues before Chef Ramsay's visit.
Chef Ramsay today has definitely ignited a passion inside of me, my passion for cooking.
Despite his efforts, the restaurant closed shortly after, and the location is now occupied by Lloyd Whiskey Bar, which has received better reviews than its predecessor. Traveling just 60 miles northeast, we arrive in the Garden State again. Flamingos is a Florida-style restaurant in White House Station, New Jersey.
Florida-mangoes. Flamingos.
Chef Ramsay's visit aimed to revitalize the restaurant, but it closed shortly after despite initial improvements. The building, which is from 1845, has since been taken over by The Rail at Reddington, a train-themed restaurant. A short journey across the state brings us to Ridgewood, New Jersey, where Bazzini struggled with poor management and food quality before Chef Ramsay's intervention.
You smell good.
Sharon, are you hitting on me?
No, I'm not. Gordon is adorable.
Despite the changes made during his visit, Bazzini closed shortly after the episode aired. The old location is now home to Lisa's Mediterranean cuisine, which customers have received well. Returning to the Empire State, we find ourselves in Brooklyn, where Mojito, a Cuban restaurant, faced significant operational challenges.
They will fight in front of customers, pick up the food on time. It gets ugly.
Chef Ramsay's visit improved the menu and overall operations, providing a short-lived boost in business. Unfortunately, Mojito closed in March 2016, and the space has since been taken over by a French bakery, Le Petit Monstre. Making our way to the West Coast once more, we land in the picturesque coastal city of Manhattan Beach, California. Lido di Manhattan, an Italian restaurant, welcomed Chef Ramsay, who implemented vital menu and decor improvements.
Watching me? Come on. Hey, come on. No, come on.
These changes helped owner Lisa Hemmett significantly boost business, and as of 2024, Lido di Manhattan Beach remains open, making it one of the more successful transformations from the show. Venturing to the Sunshine State, we arrive in Lighthouse Point, Florida, where Le Bistro faced severe management and food quality issues before Chef Ramsay's visit.
The last thing I want to do is go and work for some idiot somewhere else. I hate idiots.
His intervention led to a complete overhaul of the menu and operations, resulting in improved business. As of 2024, the bistro is still open and thriving, marking it as another success story from Kitchen Nightmares. Heading west, we find ourselves in Lancaster, California, where Casoma struggled with poor food quality and management.
It was a bad f***ing day, pal.
A bad day?
Yeah, shit happens. Just relax, take a chill pill, reload, and do it again.
Despite some initial improvements following Chef Ramsay's visit, the restaurant eventually closed in 2017. Salon Garibaldi, a party service business, now occupies the location. Just 50 miles south, in Newbury Park, California, Mama Rita's Mexican Cantina faced significant debt and management issues.
Here's the thing. Honestly. Chimichanga. Chimichanga in the bin.
Although Chef Ramsay's intervention brought temporary improvements, the restaurant closed in December 2010. The space is now home to the local table, serving a slightly different cuisine. Returning across the country to the Sunshine State once again, we arrive in Boca Raton, Florida. In Vincenzo's, an Italian restaurant, struggled with poor management and food quality.
The decoration with the cucumber.
Everybody loves that salad.
Who's everybody? The restaurant's empty.
Despite Chef Ramsay's efforts, the restaurant closed just a month after the episode aired. The location is now home to Arun's Indian Kitchen, which has received positive reviews. A short trip south brings us to Miami, Florida, where Fleming faced severe operational issues before Chef Ramsay's visit. His intervention brought temporary improvements.
Is that the duck? Yes. I'm so sorry. I'll explain in 2 seconds. Do excuse me.
But the Danish restaurant closed soon after the episode aired. A new business now occupies a space, although the details are unclear. Returning to the West Coast, we land at Thousand Oaks, California. Sushiko, a Japanese restaurant, struggled with management and food quality issues.
We reuse them sometimes. I wash the steak and everything is clean. What's the problem?
Despite Chef Ramsay's efforts, the restaurant closed shortly after the episode aired. Heading east, we find ourselves in Harrison, New Jersey, where the Spanish Pavilion faced significant challenges before Ramsay's visit.
Is he dead?
No, I think they're just sleeping.
We keep a good eye on this.
He's fucked. Dead. A dead lobster.
His intervention improved business, and as of 2024, the Spanish Pavilion remains open and continues to serve customers.
And the freshest thing in this kitchen is that pigeon flying around. And he's lucky he's still alive.
Making it one of the more successful transformations from the show. We travel north to Long Island and arrive in West Babylon, New York. Classic American struggled with everything. Poor food quality, management, you name it.
Personally, I like the food. But what the do I know? I was a bricklayer. You know what I'm saying?
And despite initial improvements after Chef Ramsay's visit, the restaurant closed in August 2013. The space is now empty after being occupied by Blue Mediterranean, which received positive reviews. The last bit of news is that the building was for sale. Heading back to New York City, we find PJs Steak Haus in Forest Hills. The steakhouse, with only 2 steaks on the menu, was facing serious financial problems when Chef Ramsay arrived. His help brought temporary improvements, but PJs Steak Haus, renamed PJs Grill, closed shortly after.
I wanted to turn around and smack Eric in the mouth. He's behind us, munching on popcorn with a grin in his face.
The location is now occupied by Manor Oktoberfest, which has received average reviews. Just across the Hudson River in Carlstadt, New Jersey, Grasshopper faced numerous operational challenges before Chef Ramsay's visit.
This one is actually beef.
So it's a cottage pie, not a shepherd's pie, because shepherd stands for the
sheep.
Despite some initial improvements, the restaurant ultimately closed in October 2012. The location is now home to Segovia Maison, a tapas restaurant with solid reviews. Traveling north to Beantown, we arrive in Boston, Massachusetts, where Dabby Day struggled with poor management and food quality.
That's fresh. When were they done? This morning. Made yesterday? It was actually made 3 weeks ago.
Chef Ramsay's intervention led to temporary improvements, but the restaurant closed in 2014. The location then became another Italian place called Il Molo, but that is shut. It is currently planned to become the Italian Tailor sometime soon. Returning to the Ocean State, we find ourselves in Providence, Rhode Island. This episode featured Abby Cabral, who got into one of the biggest arguments we've ever seen on the show.
You stuck-up, precious little bitch! You are so in denial! You need therapy!
You're a disgrace in this industry.
Ramsay's help led to a temporary boost in business, but the restaurant closed not long after. A new restaurant called Circe now occupies the space. Moving south to the Constitution State, we arrive in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where Cafe Tavolini struggled with poor management and food quality. Despite Chef Ramsay's efforts, the restaurant closed in December 2011. The location is now occupied by Brea Restaurant and Raw Bar, which has received great reviews. Jetting back to the West Coast, we land in Pasadena, California. Kingston Cafe faced numerous challenges when Chef Ramsay arrived.
I don't know what kind of herb from Jamaica you've been smoking, but that is disgusting crap.
His intervention led to temporary improvements, but the restaurant closed in 2018. A restaurant no longer occupies the space. Dr. Morris continues to use the building for a medical practice. Just a few miles west, La Frite struggled with poor management and food quality in Sherman Oaks, California. Despite Chef Ramsay's help, the restaurant eventually closed not long after. The space is currently sitting empty after it became an Italian restaurant for a few years. Heading to Eagle Rock, California, we find Capri, an Italian restaurant owned by twins Jeff and Jim. The restaurant lasted for almost a decade after Chef Ramsay's visit, but ultimately had to close as the twins weren't making any money.
There's a part of me that's very satisfied to see the boys finally get what they deserve.
The location is now occupied by Capri Club, a new restaurant that takes the theme back to its 60s roots. Traveling southeast to Louisiana, we find Zeke's, which struggled with poor management and food quality. Chef Ramsay's intervention led to temporary improvements, but the restaurant eventually had to close. The space is now Porter and Luke's. Just a short drive away, Oceana in New Orleans caught the eye of Chef Ramsay. The restaurant continues to operate today under the original management. Heading north to the Garden State again, we arrive in Plainfield, New Jersey, where Blackberry faced significant challenges before Chef Ramsay's visit.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name, you are blessed. We rebuke the spirit of the devil. You are prayed over.
Despite his best efforts, the restaurant closed in March 2013. A Mexican bakery now occupies the location. Traveling just 20 miles north, we find ourselves in Montclair, New Jersey. Leonie's faced operational issues before Chef Ramsay's visit. His intervention led to a significant boost in business, and as of 2024, Leonie's remains open and continues to serve customers. Heading down to the Jersey Shore, we arrive in Oakhurst, New Jersey, where Mike and Nellie's struggled with poor management and food quality. Despite Chef Ramsay's best efforts, the restaurant closed in January 2012. The space is now occupied by Posalipo, an Italian restaurant. Jetting back to the West Coast, we land in Anaheim, California. Luigi's faced significant challenges before Chef Ramsay's visit.
Grace, listen to me.
And despite some initial improvements, the restaurant eventually closed. The original location in Anaheim closed in 2017 and now sits empty. Luigi and Grace reopened Luigi's in Fullerton, California, which remains open to this day. Heading north to the City of Angels, we arrive in Los Angeles, where Burger Kitchen faced severe food, operational, management issues, you name it.
I got a sizable inheritance from my grandfather, and my dad took $250,000 of my money to put it into this restaurant. But my dad is not running Burger Kitchen well.
One of the most popular restaurants featured on the show, it unfortunately closed not long after the episodes aired. The space is now a Greek restaurant. Speaking of Greek restaurants, traveling up the coast, we find ourselves in Ventura, California. Greek at the harbor struggled with poor management and food quality. Chef Ramsay's help led to significant improvements.
Finally, something edible.
The restaurant is still open today. Heading east to the Peach State, we arrive in College Park, Georgia, where Michon's, a southern barbecue joint, faced food quality issues as they pre-made most of the food days in advance.
Is there anything today that I ate that wasn't microwaved? The salad. You fucking donut. Of course you don't put fucking salad.
Despite initial improvements, the restaurant eventually closed. The space is now occupied by an Ethiopian restaurant called Bull. Traveling west to the Lone Star State, we find ourselves in Austin, Texas. El Greco struggled with poor management, food quality, and a whole host of other issues.
Chef Mike, you've been so busy. It's time that you took a little vacation.
Later, Chef Mike.
And despite Chef Ramsay's efforts, the restaurant eventually closed. The space is now occupied by a sandwich shop called Chiba's. Heading back to the Peach State, we arrive in Atlanta, Georgia, where the owner of Park's Edge had pissed off the entire neighborhood with some of the comments he had made.
Seriously?
Why throw my lemons like that for? Why are you taking my product
They're
and you're throwing it
molding
away?
you. Hey, look.
Unfortunately, the restaurant was not able to be turned around. It is now occupied by a different business. Jetting back, we land in Fremont, California. Spin a Yarn faced financial difficulties due partly to a costly renovation, which left owner Saki and his wife Jennifer in a tough position.
Fresh frozen out of the can.
With Ramsay's help, they were able to turn the business around, and as of today, Spin a Yarn remains open and continues to serve customers. 350 miles south, Charlie's struggled with poor management and food quality in Laverne, California.
Toasted ravioli. Really? Yeah, sounds like the owners are toast.
Even with Chef Ramsay's help, the restaurant closed in July 2012. The space is now occupied by Cafe X2O. Heading east to Charm City, we arrive in Baltimore, Maryland, where Cafe Hun faced significant challenges before Ramsay's visit.
Debbie, please.
Denise, you're a rude bitch.
The owner trademarked the word Hun, which angered many in the community because it's a common term used locally. The owner apologized for this, and a restaurant had success for many years after. The restaurant eventually closed, though, in April 2022. The space is currently vacant. Traveling north to the city of brotherly love once more, we find ourselves in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Chiarelli's struggled with poor management and food quality.
So basically what he's saying is that your food isn't horrible.
You're right, I didn't say the food was horrible. I said it was disgusting.
The restaurant closed in June 2015. The space is now occupied by Rival Brothers Coffee. Zocalo, owned by a feuding husband-wife team, faced a range of issues. Despite initial improvements, the restaurant closed in 2013.
Chase,
let me finish. Let me finish. How are you thinking it's my fault? Please, come on, guys.
The space is now occupied by an apartment building named Paloma University City. Heading back to Boston's North End, we arrive at La Galleria 33, owned by sisters Rita and Lisa.
Migueli, you scratch your balls in the dining room.
But doesn't make me a bad way to scratch my balls. Come on.
One of the most popular restaurants featured on the show. Despite Ramsay's intervention, which did lead to temporary improvements, the restaurant eventually closed. The space is now occupied by another restaurant called Libertine. Our gastronomic adventure continues in the heart of Brooklyn, New York, where Mama Maria's once stood as a testament to traditional Italian cuisine.
What's that smell in here? Ah, shit.
Despite Chef Gordon Ramsay's valiant efforts to breathe new life into the struggling eatery, the restaurant succumbed to its challenges in February 2023. Today, the aroma of espresso and the chatter of cafe goers fill the space, now home to the Town Cafe. Venturing west to the Keystone State, we find ourselves in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania. Here, Ms. Jean's Southern cuisine once served up hearty plates of comfort food. However, even Ramsay's expertise couldn't save this restaurant from the perfect storm of poor management and subpar food quality.
You know what Chef Ramsay can do? He can wear one of my hats, and that's one of them.
The restaurant's closure left a void in the local culinary scene, its fate a stark reminder of the unforgiving nature of the restaurant industry. Our journey takes us north to the picturesque shores of Hull, Massachusetts, where Barefoot Bob's once offered diners a view as enticing as its menu promised to be. Overlooking the sparkling waters of Massachusetts Bay, this eatery grappled with significant challenges that proved too formidable even for Chef Ramsay's interventions.
Who grabs that out there and doesn't think about changing the bowl? Who could be that dirty? Chili?
Today, locals and tourists alike flock to the Tipsy Tuna, the new occupant of this prime location, for their seaside dining experience. Just a stone's throw away in Hanson, Massachusetts, we encounter a heartening tale of culinary resurrection. The old Hitching Post restaurant and tavern, once mirrored in operational quagmires.
Rule number one, when studying to be a chef, fresh food doesn't smell, taste better once it's frozen.
Stands as a testament to the power of expert intervention and willingness to change. Thanks to Chef Ramsay's guidance and the owner's determination, this historic establishment continues to serve patrons. Its doors still open in 2024, offering a blend of traditional charm and revitalized cuisine. Our culinary odyssey then sweeps us back to Pennsylvania, this time to the charming town of Beaver. Here, Levante's Italian restaurant once promised authentic Italian flavors, but struggled to deliver on that promise.
My sincere apologies.
Despite Chef Ramsay's best efforts to revive this failing eatery, Levante served its last plate in 2013. The space that once echoed with the clink of wine glasses and the aroma of garlic now houses a different venture, the specifics of which remain a mystery to us. As we conclude this leg of our journey, we find ourselves under the California sun in Monrovia. Sam's Mediterranean Kebab Room, once a beacon for Middle Eastern cuisine, faced its final day in January 2014, unable to overcome its deep-seated issues despite Chef Ramsay's intervention. Today, the sizzle of kebabs has been replaced by the clink of cocktail glasses at the Copper Still Grill, marking yet another transformation in the ever-evolving landscape of the restaurant industry. Our next stop takes us to the sun-soaked shores of Long Beach, California. Here, Nino's Italian Restaurant, a family-owned establishment with roots stretching back to 1958.
Just like last night, he ran up to every table and said, "Hello, my name's Nino."
That's not true.
Awaited Chef Ramsay's magic touch. Upon arrival, Ramsay was greeted by a sight that would make any health inspector cringe. Tables adorned with gum underneath and decor that hadn't seen an update since the restaurant's inception. Despite Ramsay's efforts to polish the tarnished gem, Nino's Italian Restaurant eventually closed its doors in 2016, citing personal reasons. Today, the space that once served up pasta now pours lattes and uncorks wine bottles, transformed into a trendy coffee shop and wine bar. Venturing into the heartland, we find ourselves in the quaint town of Norfolk, Ohio, home to the infamous Mill Street Beastro. Under the iron-fisted rule of owner Joe Nagy, this establishment became a powder keg of conflict.
Then wake up! You wake up, idiot! You come in here and help me instead of running your jaw!
Resulting in one of the most explosive episodes in Kitchen Nightmares history. Ramsay's visit exposed a litany of issues, from questionable food quality to management practices that would make most restaurateurs blush. Despite a brief rebrand as Maple City Tavern, the restaurant couldn't escape its troubled past and shuttered in 2015. Today, sports fans and steak lovers converge at the Press Box, the new occupant of this once turbulent space. Our journey now takes us to the misty shores of Seattle, where we encounter a Greek tragedy of culinary proportions.
I love moussaka, but that is miles off. Usaka.
Yannis, a family-owned Greek restaurant, was drowning in a sea of outdated practices and familial discord. Chef Ramsay's intervention was nothing short of Herculean, as he worked to modernize the menu, refresh the decor, and mend family rifts. Unlike many of its Kitchen Nightmares peers, Yannis' story has a happy ending. As of today, the restaurant continues to thrive, serving up delicious Greek cuisine to satisfied patrons. A short trip brings us to Everett, Washington, home of the quirky Prohibition Grill. This establishment, which attempted to blend fine dining with belly dancing, was a recipe for disaster. Ramsay's visit was a crash course in restaurant management 101, complete with a menu overhaul and a stern lesson in prioritizing food over floor shows.
I didn't realize that soup of the day meant a fresh soup every day. I'm not that stupid, it's just that's what I understood that meant.
Despite initial improvements, Prohibition Grill did its last dance in 2017. The space now houses the Prohibition Gastropub, maintaining a nod to its predecessor while charting a new culinary course. From the Pacific Northwest, we journey to the heart of country music, Nashville, Tennessee. Here, Chappie's attempted to bring a taste of New Orleans to Music City. However, under the leadership of John Chappie Chapman, the restaurant hit more sour notes than sweet.
It looks like Chappie took a crappie in my gumbo.
Ramsay's visit exposed a ton of issues, from food quality that was anything but jazzy to management practices that were off-key. Despite Ramsay's best efforts to orchestrate a turnaround, Chappie's closed its doors in 2013, making way for a new establishment to take center stage. Our culinary road trip takes a dramatic turn as we arrive in Scottsdale, Arizona, home to what many consider the most infamous episode in Kitchen Nightmares history, Amy's Baking Company.
I speak feline. Meow, 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 meow.
Run by the volatile duo Amy and Sammy Buzaglo, was less a restaurant and more a battlefield.
No, don't. With me.
Yeah, I will with you. Who the fuck you think you are?
Ramsay's visit was marked by unprecedented levels of conflict, culminating in the chef's first ever walkout. The restaurant's drama extended far beyond the show, with social media meltdowns and legal troubles keeping Amy's Baking Company in the spotlight until its closure in 2015. Today, the location is Rachel's Young at Art, a art studio for local children. Heading to the Mile High City, we find ourselves at Pantalones, a family-owned pizzeria in Denver, Colorado. This establishment was struggling to stay relevant in a changing culinary landscape.
And that's our thin crust.
That's the thin crust?
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Wow.
Its practices as outdated as its decor. Ramsay's visit was a much-needed wake-up call, spurring a new menu revamp and operational overhaul.
Sunday, Monday I close.
Why are you closing on Sunday?
Sunday? Because I want to watch football.
In a rare success story, Pantalones not only survived, but thrived. As of today, it continues to serve up slices in a new location, a testament to the power of adaptation and perseverance in the restaurant industry. Our journey now takes us coast to coast, landed in the bustling borough of Queens, New York. Here, Katialo, a Greek restaurant run by a married couple, was serving up family drama alongside its moussaka. Ramsay's intervention focused not just on the menu.
I'm pissed off, I'm angry, the food is not the problem.
But on mending the fractured family dynamic that was poisoning the business. Sadly, despite all the improvements, Katialo closed its doors in 2014. However, the Greek culinary tradition lives on in this space, now occupied by another Greek eatery called Kalamaki. Westward bound once more, we find ourselves in Arvada, Colorado, at the aptly named Old Neighborhood Restaurant. This establishment was indeed stuck in the past, with cleanliness issues that would make even the most lenient health inspector raise an eyebrow.
I don't really think that I'm a hoarder. It's just hard for me to throw things away.
Ramsay's visit was a whirlwind of scrubbing, menu revamping, and much-needed modernization. Despite these efforts, Old Neighborhood served its last meal in 2017. Today, the space has been transformed into The Butchery, offering a fresh take on the neighborhood dining experience. We continue in the picturesque town of Woodland Park, Colorado, where Mangia Mangia once attempted to bring a taste of Italy to the Rockies. This family-run Italian restaurant was plagued by poor management and practices that were as outdated as last week's lasagna.
The food isn't cooked with much love. It's cooked with stress and a microwave.
Ramsay's intervention brought a much-needed refresh to both menu and staff. However, even the fiery Scotsman's best efforts couldn't save Mangia Mangia, which closed its doors in 2014. In an ironic twist, the space now houses a Jimmy John's sub shop, trading Italian cuisine for quick-service sandwiches. Basking in the California sun once more, we arrive at Zena Flaming Grill in Redondo Beach. This Mediterranean establishment was caught in a family feud hotter than its namesake flames, with management issues threatening to extinguish its culinary fire. Ramsay's visit focused on dousing the family conflict and rekindling the restaurant's passion for great food. In a rare success story, Zena Flaming Grill continues to serve customers as of today, albeit under new ownership, proving that sometimes a change in management is all that's needed to keep the flames of success burning bright. Our journey now takes us to Easton, Pennsylvania, where Bella Luna was struggling to shine in the local dining scene. This Italian restaurant's challenges were as abundant as the cheese on a good pizza, from poor food quality to managerial missteps.
And an owner that's in fucking denial.
I'm not in denial. I'm not.
Ramsay's intervention brought a temporary lunar eclipse to these issues, revamping the menu and operations. However, the improvements were short-lived, and Bella Luna faded from the culinary sky in late 2014. Today, another restaurateur's dream occupies the space, hoping to write a new chapter in the location's dining history. Heading overseas to Costa del Sol, Spain, we encounter the struggling Mayfair Restaurant. This family-run establishment was anything but fair in its practices.
What was the chicken like?
Disgusting.
Ah.
Serving up a menu of challenges that would make even the most seasoned restaurateur balk. Ramsay's visit aimed to bring a touch of culinary spring to this perpetual location. Despite initial signs of improvement and rebranding as Jack's Chicken Shack, Mayfair Restaurant eventually shuttered its doors, unable to fully bloom in the competitive restaurant landscape. The space now houses a local cafe. Our culinary expedition continues on an international path as we ascend into the breathtaking French Alps. Here, Le Deck offered diners a view as stunning as its food was disappointing.
But I know from personal experience, opening a business abroad is one of the hardest things you can do.
Under the ownership of Tim, the restaurant faced challenges as steep as the surrounding slopes. Ramsay's intervention was akin to a black diamond run, challenging but with the potential for a great reward. Unfortunately, Le Deck couldn't maintain its balance and eventually closed its doors. Today, another establishment occupies its prime alpine real estate, hopefully offering cuisine that matches the majestic surroundings. Continuing our Euro trip, we find ourselves in the sun-drenched town of Gossin, Spain. La Granada de Vino, a tapas restaurant, was struggling to capture the essence of Spanish cuisine, much less the hearts of locals and tourists alike. Ramsay's visit was a crash course in Spanish Cuisine 101, aiming to infuse authenticity and passion into every dish. Despite these efforts, the Granada de Vino couldn't maintain its flavor and closed down. The space now houses another business, the nature of which remains as mysterious as the secret to a perfect paella. Our Spanish adventure continues as we head to the glittering Costa del Sol, where Cuelcutis was failing to bring the heat to the already sizzling coastline.
They set up a business for the kids to run. Unfortunately, sounds like the kids are running the business into the ground.
This tapas restaurant was serving up a menu of mismanagement and mediocre food that left a bad taste in diners' mouths. Ramsay's intervention aimed to spice things up, but even his fiery personality couldn't save Cuelcutis from fizzling out in August 2015. Today, a different business occupies the space, hoping to capture the flavor of success that eluded its predecessor. After almost a decade off the air, Chef Ramsay returned with Season 8 of Kitchen Nightmares. Returning stateside, we now land in Queens, New York, at the iconic Bel Air Diner. This establishment, a staple of the community, was facing a crisis of identity and quality that threatened its very existence.
The biggest problem is here, my brother's period. My brother's
Ramsay's visit was a journey back to the roots of what makes a great American diner, focusing on quality comfort food and impeccable service. Bel Air Diner continues to serve customers today. However, in a twist that would make Ramsay raise an eyebrow, the diner has reverted to some of its original practices. Our culinary tour now takes us to Woodland Park, New Jersey, where Basque 46 was struggling to find its place in the competitive restaurant landscape. This establishment was a melting pot of issues, from identity crisis to quality concerns.
I don't handle criticism well, but I certainly won't handle criticism from someone that don't know what they're talking about.
Ramsay's intervention was a masterclass in restaurant reinvention, focusing on creating a clear concept and elevating the dining experience. In a rare success story, Basque 46 continues to welcome diners as of today, with generally positive reviews suggesting that sometimes a little tough love from a world-renowned chef is all it takes to turn the tables. Teeing off at the Preakness Valley Golf Course in Wayne, New Jersey, we encounter The Drink, an establishment that was definitely under par.
When people think of a country club and they come here, they think they're in the wrong spot. It looks like a high school cafeteria.
This struggling restaurant faced a water hazard of issues, from inconsistent food quality to management practices that were far from up to course. Ramsay's visit was like a hole-in-one for the business, addressing these issues head-on and putting the restaurant back on the fairway to success. As of today, The Drink, now known as In the Drink, continues to serve customers, proving that with the right guidance, even the most challenging businesses can avoid the rough and land on the green. Our next stop brings us to Dumont, New Jersey, home of DeMimo, a pizzeria that was barely staying afloat in a sea of competition. This family-run establishment was struggling to distinguish itself in a state known for its pizza, serving up slices of mediocrity along with its pies.
I'm Vito, I'm Vincent, and we're what do you do for DeMimo? Nothing. Absolutely. We do nothing for DeMimo.
Ramsay's intervention was like a perfectly seasoned sauce, bringing new flavor to both the menu and the business practices. In another success story, DeMimo continues to toss dough and serve customers as of today, although a brief listing for sale suggests that running a restaurant remains an ongoing challenge, even post-Ramsay. Venturing back to the bustling streets of Brooklyn, New York, we squeeze into Juicy Box, a family-run juice bar that was anything but fresh. This establishment was struggling to find its niche in the health-conscious market, serving up a blend of mismanagement and missed opportunities. Ramsay's visit was like a shot of wheatgrass to the business, energizing both the menu and operations.
You know, I can take a shot in the morning.
You need a drink in the morning?
Why not?
Cute.
As of today, Juicy Box continues to press on, serving customers with improved offerings, proving that with the right recipe, even the most struggling business can be revitalized. Our journey now takes us to Saugerties, New York, where Love Bites Cafe was serving up a menu of culinary disappointments.
This restaurant's called Love Bites, but I've tasted nothing that's made with love, let me tell you.
This struggling eatery was failing to capture the hearts, or taste buds, of local diners. Its food and management practices leaving much to be desired. Ramsay's intervention was like Cupid's arrow, aimed at reigniting the passion for quality cuisine and service. However, even love sometimes isn't enough, and Love Bites Cafe closed its doors in July 2023. The space is now occupied by the Town Cafe. Heading south to Yonkers, New York, we spice things up with El Cantinto, a Puerto Rican eatery that was struggling to bring the heat to its cuisine and business practices.
And I think of colors, flavors of Puerto Rico, and there is nothing that takes me back to Puerto Rico in here.
This family-run establishment was facing a storm of issues as tumultuous as a Caribbean hurricane. Ramsay's visit was like a breath of fresh tropical air, revitalizing both the menu and the management style. In a pleasantly surprising turn of events, El Cantito continues to serve customers today, with positive reviews suggesting that this Puerto Rican gem has found its rhythm in the diverse New York dining scene. Our next stop takes us back to Brooklyn, New York, this time to the industrial chic South Brooklyn Foundry. This establishment was forging a path to failure with its confused concept and subpar offerings.
People come in for Botox.
The Botox here?
Yeah.
Do I need any Botox on my...
Ramsay's intervention was like a blast from the culinary furnace, reshaping the restaurant's identity and refining its menu. The hard work seems to have paid off, as South Brooklyn Foundry continues to serve customers today. Its enhanced offerings suggesting that sometimes all a struggling business needs is the right catalyst to transform its base metal into culinary gold. As we near the end of our gastronomic journey, we find ourselves in Long Branch, New Jersey, where the salty sea air mingles with the aroma of grilled delights at Max's Bar and Grill.
The place has been operating for 95 years, and they hope to celebrate their 100th year. They can keep their buns in their seats.
This beachside establishment was once drowning a tide of culinary mediocrity and managerial mishaps. Ramsay's arrival was like a lifeguard, rescuing the floundering business from the undertow of failure. His intervention focused on streamlining the menu and injecting a dose of professionalism into the laid-back beach bar atmosphere. The effort seems to have paid off, as Max's Bar and Grill continues to ride the wave of success in 2024, with positive reviews suggesting that the seaside eatery has found its perfect balance between casual charm and culinary excellence. Our culinary expedition concludes in the picturesque town of Port Washington, New York, where we savor the aromatic spices of DIDN, an Indian restaurant that was once lost in the fog of bland flavors and mismanagement.
They were the first to introduce exotic Indian flavors to this upscale neighborhood.
Well, hello, welcome.
This establishment, despite its exotic menu, was struggling to stand out in the competitive New York dining scene. Ramsay's visit was like a dash of garam masalam to the business, spicing up both the menu and the operational practices. The transformation seems to have been a success, as DIDN continues to serve customers today, with positive reviews suggesting that this once struggling eatery has found its rhythm in the complex symphony of flavors that is Indian cuisine. From the sunny shores of California to the bustling streets of New York, Chef Ramsay's journey through the struggling restaurants of Kitchen Nightmares has been a roller coaster of emotions, challenges, and triumphs. While not every establishment found long-term success, the lessons learned and transformations achieved serve as a testament to the resilience and passion of the culinary world. As we reflect on these kitchen nightmares, we are reminded of the dedication and hard work required to succeed in the ever-changing landscape of the restaurant industry.